All righty. Okay, here we go. Welcome, guys. I'm so excited that you're here. We are doing um, our business planning session for 2022. I'm proud of you guys for taking the time now to make a plan so that next year you don't have to try to be figuring out what you're doing. You already know what you're going to do and you just have to execute. It's a good plan. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, I hope you guys all have a copy of the workbook. If you don't, I emailed out the PDF with the reminder so you could print it out, or when you go to your office, you can pick up a spiral bound copy from your office coordinator. The idea is that you fill out this notebook as you're doing all of these exercises, today, next week while you're thinking about it, and then in the second session, and then you keep this book and refer to it throughout the year. Next year, it's going to be kind of your guide of what you're supposed to be doing. So if anyone has questions, this is much more fun when it's interactive and you guys are sharing stories. You learn better from each other, absolutely, than you do for me. So don't be shy to unmute and speak up. You don't have to be on video, but just it's better when you share. You guys will learn more from each other. So here we're going to get going. First, I want to make sure that you guys are just looking at the slide that says your 2022 business plan and not the slide that has like all the other slides. Can someone give me a thumbs up or unmute and say, yes, that's correct, or no, Z, you're showing us the wrong screen? Anybody?
It's all good.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Just wanted to make sure I've done that before. So, okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just give you guys a quick introduction. We are going to do our business planning in two parts, and there's kind of homework in between. The first part is what we're going to do today. It's part one, and we're going to kind of define your goals and give you some tools and some exercises to kind of assess your current business. And then the second part is going to be take what you learned, take your goals, lay them out in a plan, and then talk about some ways that we can stay accountable. So if they're an hour each, they're not actually taking quite an hour. So that'll be good, but it's will be more interesting if you guys share. So first of all, this is a slide. Let's get going. This is a slide that I've shown you guys before, and it's basically a study of a clinical psychologist in California did this study to see what's the most effective way to accomplish your goals. And she took a group of workers and divided them into 5 groups. And the first group, she said, just think about your goals. The second group, she said, think about your goals and write them down. The third group, she didn't say anything about goals. She just said, just write down some actions that you want to get done. The fourth group, she had them write their goals and tell a friend what the goals were. And then the fifth group, she had them write their goals down, tell a friend or a peer at work, and then also send in a weekly progress report of how they were coming along. And what she found, you can see here on this slide, is that the group that wrote their goals down, committed to a peer what they were going to do, and then also gave the weekly progress reports, achieved 76% of their goals, whereas the group that just kind of thought about their goals and knew what they wanted to get done only achieved 43%. So that's a dramatic increase and a really good, just some good numbers like for data nerds like me, just to show like there's a right way to really accomplish your goals. And we've kind of set up our whole business planning process around this idea to make it as easy as possible for you guys to accomplish your goals. Does anyone have any questions about that? Pretty straightforward. Okay, so the first part of this class is built for us to kind of reflect on what do we want for ourselves in 2022. And this isn't just for business planning, it's kind of overall, right? Like the reason we work is presumably for other reasons in our life. Of course, our job is really fulfilling, but it's a means to an end for most of us, I would say. So the question is, you need to know exactly where you want to go. And we're going to take a little bit of time and define that. Jack Canfield says, there's a secret that I've learned that works quite well at helping you achieve what you want, and it's deciding what you want, right? So you got to know where you're going, and we're going to spend a little bit of time doing that. So in your workbook on page 4, you will see on page 4 and 5, this is kind of the goal setting pages, and page 4 is kind of just brainstorming, and these are some ideas about goals. You don't have to have a goal in every one of these categories. You may have 3 goals in one category and none in some of the others. Like that's totally fine. There's no right or wrong. These are your goals, right? This is just a spot for you to brainstorm and then think about like, what do you want, right? So this is an example of some goals for an agent that might be, I want to achieve 10 million in sales volume. I want to have a family reunion with my siblings. I want to have more listings next year, like everybody this year, right? I want to be more organized. I want to have a better balance. I want to get rid of this debt. These are just sample goals, right? And so I'm encouraging you guys to just sit and brainstorm a little bit. You can see mine, like these are all mine. I just kind of brainstormed. I ended up with 14 goals. So does anyone have a goal they want to share that they already know? I mean, most agents have a production goal or they have an income goal or something like that. If anyone has one that they want to share, I would love to hear it. One of the be more organized is one of my goals, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But this
I have
is,
one that I'll share.
yeah, please.
I'm going to get rid of all, am paying monthly for so many programs that I don't use. My
Mhm.
goal is to get rid of all the programs that I'm not using.
Oh, that's awesome. Your credit card statement would probably be the best place to start, right? Because you see what you're getting billed for and you don't even think about it or realize it. That's a good one. I love that. Okay. Anyone else? I want to show you this slide here while you're thinking about it. Is this slide, and you guys have seen this a while ago, it's our 8 elements of excellence in real estate. And the reason that I show you guys this slide is just to remind you that not all your goals have to be a number, right? It doesn't have to be, I have to sell this many listings or I have to reach this level of volume. You may say, I want to have a better listing process, or, I need to better organize like my vendor relationships, or I need to hire an assistant this year. Maybe goals like that, which are awesome. It helps to put them on paper. Anything that would make your life better or easier that you want to accomplish, write it down and we'll make it a goal. So these are just our 8 elements, your mindset, your knowledge of real estate. Is there something that an area that you're confused about, you need to learn more? Your listing and buyer process, your marketing strategy, were you consistent and strategic this year? Your business execution, this is kind of like time and how you manage, how you get things done. And then, your relationships, meaning that's really your database. And then your team, who are the people around you that help you? That doesn't mean you have to have an actual team, but everyone has lenders that they like, title companies that they like, attorneys that they like, just who's your group around you. So this is just to kind of jog your memory of some other goals you might want to have work related that are not necessarily production related. Getting rid of memberships is a great one, just to clean it out, right? Save yourself some money and just declutter for sure. Okay, so while we're thinking about our goals, we're going to talk about SMART goals. And I'm going to guess that a lot of you guys have heard of SMART goals before. And what SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And basically it's a way of taking your goals and making sure that they're actually measurable and that they're not just kind of an idea. It makes it more tangible. So let's look at these goals that I showed you. Would you guys say that these are SMART goals? Anyone?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah. So some of them are like, 10 million in sales volume, like that's pretty specific. Some of these are a little bit too generic. You can't really measure, am I more organized, or, win more listings? Like, how do I really measure that? So we want to make sure that they're measurable. So, like Dawn's goal of, getting rid of memberships. It's like, okay, that's a good one. How do we make that more specific? It's like, I want to make sure that, by the end of the first quarter, I have 0 memberships that I'm not actually working on, right? That gives her like 3 months to do it. You want to have like a date in there. You want to be specific. So I took the goals and kind of ran them through the SMART funnel. And basically these are the same goals, but now it's a SMART version. And they were always good goals. It's not that they're bad. It's just harder to check yourself and see how you're doing when they're not SMART. It also gives you a bit of a deadline. So, $10 million became $10 million in sales volume by the end of 2022. Do a triathlon, became complete this sprint triathlon before the end of July. Family reunion, became host either Thanksgiving or Christmas at my house and invite everyone. That's specific. Become more organized, become a Microsoft Power user and use tasks in Outlook for keeping track of my to-do items. That's my personal one. I really, really, really want to learn how to use tasks because I use every other component of Microsoft so extensively. It's silly that I'm not using that really great one so that everything ties into one place. Get more listings became instead like improve my listing process and have new collateral by the end of February. more family time became attend all my kids' sports games, visit my parents once a month, have a hobby for myself by the end of the year, and go on a monthly date night, right? Like those are measurable. Any stranger, if he met you at the end of the year, could look back and see whether those things happen, right? It's more quantifiable once they're smart. So, take better care of myself became, have my Aura Ring score of 90. Aura Ring is this health ring. We've talked about this extensively in the 12-week year, but that's something measurable, right? It gives you numbers. Make sure I'm taking my supplements every day, exercise 30 minutes, 4 days a week, sleep 7 hours a night. Like these are specific, right? And then, get out of debt became pay off all my credit card debt on these 2 credit cards by this date, right? Like we're giving ourselves a target that we can back into. Does that make sense? This can be tricky sometimes, especially in real estate, because a lot of our goals are more like be more organized or like manage my time better. And sometimes it's really hard to make these smart. And I'm happy to talk through it with you guys if you get stuck, or just go over them once you have them and make sure that they make sense. Y'all just let me know. Does anyone have one that they want to talk through? I share 2 of those. Go ahead.
I have one. I've been doing things like the old school way and tracking like my expenses and things like that on an Excel spreadsheet. And then at the end of the year, I give that to my accountant, who loves that because he doesn't have receipts to go through.
Yes.
But it's really such a task for me to continue to do that. And I want to start using QuickBooks to help me with that, because also, like, for example, one thing that I've really learned in business now is that when I want to buy a property, lenders want, because I'm self-employed, a P&L, and I always have to go through and make it up on myself. Put all the numbers together. But if I had QuickBooks, my husband has QuickBooks, he does his in a flash, and I'm
just spit it out for you.
Right. So I'd like to really get down to a measurable goal for that.
That's awesome. So, I mean, your goal could be, deliver my 2022 financials to my CPA in QuickBooks format, and then we can break that down and back into it into like steps that you can do over the course of the year. One thing, Barbara, that's awesome, and this is just a random tip, and you may already be doing this, is when I got into real estate, my CPA at the time advised me, just get one credit card that you put all of your real estate expenses on. And that makes it so much easier. And also when you go to QuickBooks, that also makes it easier, because then you just sync that credit card and your kind of real estate bank account together, and it makes it really super easy. But that's an awesome one. So I love that. It's manage my financials through QuickBooks, and then just figure out or maybe it's just your real estate financials. I don't know if you're talking about your personal ones too, but figure out when you want to have that accomplished by. Maybe it's start using QuickBooks by the end of the first quarter, or in January. It depends how much time you think you'll have to get it done. That's an awesome one. I love it. Anyone else? Okay, so you'll see, so in the book, you'll see on page 5, you've taken your goals on page 4 and kind of just brainstormed. And then on page 5, you're kind of converting them into SMART goals. And again, that can be tricky. So I'm happy to talk through it with you. I said, put a star next to the 4 most important goals. And the reason that we're doing that is because next week, when we start laying out, like when we're actually going to get these done, it's nice to know which ones are the big ones that you want to kind of plan around, because it's really hard to focus on all your goals at the same time. So we kind of dedicate specific quarters to each goal. So just that's the reason that that's in there. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, cool. So now we're going to talk a little bit about mindset. And for all you ninjas out there, you understand why this is important. But, real estate is such an awesome business, and it's so fun because we're helping people like find their houses, but it's also really, really, really a hard business, and it can be emotional, and you can get, punched in the gut sometimes. So it can be hard. Like you need to have some strong affirmations and a positive way of staying in the right mindset, really. And one thing with respect to goals and mindset is that whatever you write down your goals, if your mindset is, I'm going to do this in 2022 and I can get it done, then you're right and you will. And if your mindset is, this is a lot of goals and this feels like kind of lofty and I'm not sure I'm going to get it done, like you're probably not going to. So your mindset around your goals is how you're going to actually execute. So question for you guys, does anyone here, I see lots of ninjas on the call, have like a mindset practice that they're actually doing right now that they practice? Anyone? Morning routine, vision board, affirmations?
I have the Bible app on my phone,
Mhm.
and it gives me a morning prayer every day. And if I don't do something healthy for myself like that, read something healthy, my day's in the tank. It's
I
just
love
tank.
it. Yep, starting on the right foot. That's awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? I do the same thing. I have my morning readings, and then I try to do some type of like mindset visualization. I have a few different ones. I'm still trying to find the one that I like the best. Joy, did you have one?
Yeah, actually, I spend time every morning in the Word, reading my Bible,
Mhm.
and allowing my Creator to tell me who I am instead of getting a sense of who I am from the world. And then I also spend time writing affirmations that relate to who I am and who, God says I am. I also run, and that keeps my mindset and my mind healthy and sound. Whereas if I don't do either of those two things or one or the other, it's like my whole day is just off.
Yeah, I love it. You know yourself. You're kind of just having to start off on the right foot. Which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Good. And then you are always, if you do those things in the morning, at least you did something good that day, right? Something good happened. That's awesome. Thank you.
I have one.
Yeah, please.
So I do the same. I meditate as well in the mornings,
Mhm.
but I have learned that I don't have to pick up the phone and how to use my do not disturb. So I set it at 9 o'clock every night and 7 o'clock in the morning, but I don't actually talk to any humans until 8 o'clock, because I found that when somebody else jumpstarts your day with their emergency, with their trauma and drama, it's very hard to recover and get back what you did when you were meditating.
Yeah.
So it's more of a protecting my peace and sleep and starting my day my way, like Joy, as opposed to somebody else's way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you do that. And we're actually going to talk about that a little bit in part 2, is kind of like managing your time. And I know it's really, really, really hard for you guys to do that and like not answer your phone or not be going back and forth with people like late into the night or very early in the morning. But like I always say, like we're selling real estate. We're not like curing cancer, and we don't have like midnight deadlines anymore like we used to now that they changed the contract. So you really can have some boundaries. So we're going to talk about that a little more, but I love that you do that. So one of the things that Ninja tells us to do, and I firmly, firmly believe in it, is writing affirmations. And it's funny, I just listened to that John Acuff book, Soundtracks, that I guess they gave out at Level Up and everyone recommended. And so I listened to it. It's such a good listen, by the way. But he kind of talks, he spends a lot of time like on an affirmation practice and how he got into it. And his conclusion, and I thought he summed it up perfectly, was it feels a little bit crazy, but I don't care because it works. And that's totally, I think, the perfect way to like sum up affirmations. Is it feels a little bit crazy, but it totally works. I personally know that. I know you guys have all experienced it. It sounds like Joy's doing it too, but there's an app, and it's in the bottom of your book. It's called the Think Up app, where you can, Ninja says we should write our affirmations down 25 times a day for at least 30 days in a row. I've done that. It's awesome. I have an app, it's called Think Up, and you record your affirmations in your own voice, and then you can just listen to them, which for you guys who are in the car all the time, it's really nice to just be able to like even on your first 10-minute car ride from point A to point B, just to listen to yourself saying some nice, good things about yourself, it does definitely start you off on the right foot for sure. It just gives you some good energy. So I encourage you to think about your goals and write some good affirmations. This is how you write affirmations, you know, start with the words I am, usually make them in the present tense, state them in the positive and the affirmative, keep it brief, make it specific, include an action word and a dynamic feeling. And then of course you have to make it for yourself and not others. You can't like wish someone else to do something. So like if you're one of your goals is to like buy a lake house, it's like, you know, I'm joyfully watching the sunset off the deck of my 4-bedroom lake house at Possum Kingdom, right? Like that's a good affirmation for you to say like over and over to yourself. Or if your goal is to buy a rental property, it's like, you know, I enjoy being a landlord and collecting mailbox money every month, whatever it is, like just, you know, say it to yourself, and you know, where your mind goes, your actions and follow. So put your mind in a good place. So that's why there's a page in here in the book, like every good ninja, we have to have a page about that. So, okay, let's check in. So what we just did was we talked a little bit about goal setting and staying in the right mindset. And obviously this is, you know, a crucial piece of coming up with how our 2022 is going to look. Like you have to decide what you want for 2022 so that you can go get it, right? If we're going on a trip in 2022 as our adventure, we need to know where our destination is. And then we also need to know where we're starting so we can figure out how to get there, right? So what we're going to talk about now is where are we starting, right? Like where are we right now in our business? You know, we defined our goals. Now we're going to assess where we are because we want to get here. We have our goals and we're starting here and we're going to come up with a plan to get there next time. So we're going to talk a little bit now about some tools to help you guys assess your current business. And what this does is these are, you know, 5 different exercises that will really just get you inside of your business. And it helps you kind of take inventory. And I promise you, if you spend some time doing these, you're going to learn things about your business that you didn't necessarily know. And it's going to help you move forward in the direction you want to move forward in. So here's the 5 ways, and we're going to go over these in greater detail, but this is just a summary. And these are all in your book. So you're going to do a 2021 at a glance and just kind of look at the numbers so that you can get a feel. We had an agent, and this one's pretty straightforward, but she was like, I had 13 listings and 2 buyers this year. And she's like, I've been working really hard all year. I never just stopped and stepped back and looked at that's how I was. So that was interesting to her. And she realized she had referred away a lot of buyers because she didn't have time to do them. So that will kind of help her figure out, like, if she wants to do more buyers next year, how can she change that? Or if she thinks it's great, how does she get more listings so she can keep referring them out, right? It's just going to help her assess her business. So that's 2021 at a glance. Transaction audit is a way for you to look at and see like where your deal's really coming from. Your business and marketing activity review is the way for you to kind of assess what you're really doing in your business and whether it's paying off. Embrace your database, of course, as realtors, like our database is our number one thing. So this is just an exercise for you to make sure you're on top of your database. And then start, stop, and continue is really the last one you should do because it will help you once you've wrapped your arms around your business and you're in the thick of it and you're noticing patterns from the data and the information that you've pulled up, you can decide like what worked that I want to keep doing, what wasn't so effective that I'm going to stop, and what do I want to try this year to move me closer to my goal. So those are the 5 ways to take inventory. And we're going to talk through them a little bit more detail. Does anyone have any questions before we start? Is this making sense? I can't see y'all's videos, unfortunately, so I can't see faces. I can see who's on the call. It's a little bit tricky, but that's okay. So this is 2021 at a glance. And in your book, this is on page 7. And basically, this is just a quick way for you to take inventory, right? How many deals did I do? How many listings did I take? How many listings actually sold? Those are interesting. Just to see, like, make sure you're able to close the deals. And then how many listing consultations did I go on? That one's important too, because if you went on 8 listing consultations, but you only took 3 listings, it's like, what's the disconnect there? And maybe there's no disconnect. We talked through this with an agent earlier and she's like, well, I went on 6 and I got 3 because 3 of them sold to their friend or neighbor before I even had a chance to list it for them. And it's like, okay, well, that's good data. But then it's also like, well, what can we do in those initial listing consultations to make sure that even if that's going to happen again, even if next year is going to be crazy like it is this year, how can you get your foot in the door and at least help facilitate that transaction and be involved in some way, right? So just something good to think about. And then, how many buyers did I work with? How many did I actually close? How many referrals did I get in? How many did I send out? How many did I send out that actually closed? That's important. If you're sending for referrals to Julie in New York and you're 0 closed, maybe you need a new referring partner in New York, right? How many open houses did I hold? That can be telling for people. And then the last 3, how many hours did I work a day or per week? And what were my total earnings? Like, this is helpful for you guys to figure out what's your income per hour. And we're going to talk about this a little bit in part 2. If you want to start maybe delegating some things, obviously you're the beginning of your real estate career, like you're not delegating things, you need to be doing everything and learning everything. But some of you guys spend a lot of time on things that you could probably farm out and focus on more like money making activities. So this is just a helpful way to kind of take inventory, and just, this is a quick one, but I encourage you to try to really do it and think about it. And what we're going to do is, you'll see at the back of your book, there is a, this is on pages 21 through the rest of the book. You can see it's your January numbers at a glance, and then your February to do. Once a month, we're going to get together and go over this. So a lot of you guys, a handful of you guys, not a lot, were meeting with me monthly this year when we used a somewhat similar format of this. And so you've been all along, you've been keeping track. So your year at a glance will be really easy because they've been, taking inventory every month, and they'll know their exact numbers because they've written it all down. So this is just a way that we built into the book for you guys to kind of keep track of what you're doing on a monthly basis, so that it doesn't happen once a year when you're trying to figure all of this stuff out. Questions about that? Okay. All right. So the second one, and this is one of my favorite tricks. I always say I'm a 2-trick pony. If you are stuck and you come to me for help, I have 2 really good tricks that I know will help you get more business if you do them. And this is one of them. So some of you guys have probably already done this with me. It's a very powerful thing to do, but basically a transaction audit is where you sit down and you pull all your past transactions, whether it's from the past year, or if you've never done it before, I encourage you to go back as far as you can. It doesn't really take that long. And figure out where exactly did this transaction come from. And it's not just saying, oh, this came from a referral or this was Sphere. It's being really, really specific. And in BFSIR Connect, there's a way for you guys to pull your transactions. And if you look in your book on page 8, it tells you how to log into BFSIR Connect and pull your deals. So that's the good news. What I'm going to encourage you to do once you pull them is, instead of just being like, oh, this was the Sphere, or this was a referral, or this came from networking, like drill down, right? It's like this was from my kids. It's like, no, okay, this was from, Whitney's gymnastics group, or this was from Lucas's baseball team. Like, be specific. And even Lucas's baseball team, and it was Blair Patton, right? Like, be specific, because when you're keeping track, you're going to start to notice patterns. I can tell you, and this is in your book, it's just examples of where these might come from, but don't just say this was my neighborhood. It's like, no, who in the neighborhood referred it to you, and keep track of it. You're gonna see patterns. And this is the 7th time I've taught this business planning class now for Briggs Freeman, and I've had lots of discussions with agents. When we come back in part 2 and we talk to the agents that did this, and there was one that was like, I thought they all came from my Sphere, but when I really drilled down, she's like, I realized that I was getting so much business from my husband's fraternity brothers. And she's like, so that's interesting. So it's like, she thought she was getting it from all of her Sphere, but really the majority were coming from this one specific group. So it's like, okay, what am I doing for this group that I'm not doing for the rest? Or what do I need to do to really dig into this group even more? It's just telling for her. I had another agent, we did this a couple years ago, and she was like, I get all my deals from my friends. Like, I know it, I don't need to do this. And we're like, humor us and do it. And she realized that she was getting all of her business from her law school friends, not her general Sphere of friends. So that was very helpful for her. And then, I did this just a couple of weeks ago. One of the agents went home and did this exercise. And she said, this is a $15 million producer that really stopped to take time to do this, because she realized, she's like, I didn't realize that all of our business came from referrals almost. And she said, and we don't do anything to love on our past clients. She's like, they're referrals from past clients is what she says. She's like, we're really not doing a great job of keeping in touch with those people. And what she said was, I can only imagine what would happen to our business if we actually started paying attention to these people. So there's a lot to be learned from doing this, and I encourage you to do it. So this is a sample one. And basically this agent is obviously a huge producer. And when we walked through this exercise, we put this in, we pulled our deals, we put them into a spreadsheet, you know, the address, the closing date, the volume, what was the source of the business. And you can see it wasn't just like past client, it was past client, repeat, they did another deal, it was past client, and they sent me, you know, Bob Jones. And then you can see I have one extra column here for referral, because sometimes the deal is someone within your sphere, and sometimes the deal is a referral from someone in your sphere. So it's nice to track referrals separately. So you can still see the business source, but then you can also see if it's a referral. Is that confusing, or does that make sense? When you go through and do this, it helps you figure out, wow, I did 20 deals, 11 of them were referrals. 2 of them were repeat clients. And this agent in particular was like, wow, like I got so much business by hosting those dinner parties, and those dinner parties were not really work related, but obviously it was a very great source of business, and that she didn't even realize was a great source of business. So she built that into her business plan and her business expenses, right? So I'm encouraging you guys to do this. Have any of you ever done this before? Anyone on the call? Have I harassed you enough to do it?
I do it. I've been doing that for several years now. So, and it looks very much like this.
Yes. And do you see patterns, or does it help you notice things that help guide you of what you should be doing or should stop doing? Maybe if it's not generating business.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's really helped me to see, you know, where I can focus my attention on whatever referral source like has the highest number, like, okay, that's what's working. And this probably isn't working. So it helps me kind of adjust.
Figure out, yeah, what you need to do. That's awesome. Okay. I'm glad you do this. Didn't you just do it on a yearly basis, I guess, kind of look back and see where your business came from that year?
No, what I do is on a monthly basis, you know, like I'm just putting the deals that I have in the spreadsheet, you know, whatever I have under contract. And then in another section below, I'm tracking, you know, future business. So
Awesome.
Once the future business actually has an address, then I move it up to the address portion, and then it's blank, you know, for like the amount or whatever, because I don't know what it's going to end up being. But once it closes, then I go ahead and plug in the number, and then, you know, but I take it a step further with, I have like a referral source column 1,
Mhm.
and then I have a column 2, and then a column 3, because
Okay.
sometimes I got the person that goes in the first column is actually where I got the referral from.
The
And
original.
then I track where I got that person from. So like, let's just say at the beginning of the tree of life for the client, they found me on Yelp or something. So there I have them as Yelp. And
Mhm.
then later on, they refer me to somebody else. So then the next round, when I close that person, I'll say, okay, this referral came from Steve. And then the second column will have Yelp.
I love it. I love
So
it.
I
So
can remember.
you're tracking the lineage, which is awesome. It's like the original source. And that's so awesome. This spreadsheet sounds like my dream come true, because it sounds like it's your hot and your warm list, but also keeping track of your deals and your transaction audit, which is like, that's awesome. Thank you. That's the way to do it, guys. I love it. I love it. I'm happy to share this template with anyone that wants it. It's just an Excel spreadsheet. It's nothing magic, but just to get you started. And you can also, when you pull it out of BFSIR Connect, it'll be in Excel also. So highly encourage you to do this and see where your business sources are coming from for your deals.
Zareen, can I just
Yeah.
say something? So I've been tracking on an Excel spreadsheet of where my business is coming from. At one point, I had it in Infusionsoft, but I couldn't wrap my brain around. I just wanted to see at a glance. And
Mhm.
so the Excel spreadsheet really helps. But where I run into issues is, like you just said, be specific. Don't just say just sphere, or because I'm looking at quite a few of my transactions and a lot of them say, SOI, sphere of influence. Well,
Right.
but that doesn't really tell me exactly where it came from.
Mhm.
And some of them I can remember. I can go back and add the details, but a lot of them I can't remember. So yes, it came from my sphere, but exactly from whom or what
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
So
You know what?
I had an aha moment a few minutes ago. So that's really helpful.
Good, good, good. And you know what? That is what it is. And it's not going to be perfect. And that's okay. Like you can see here, we have sphere and then sphere what? Like this was a sphere, my husband, this was sphere, my college friends, this was sphere separate, so you can have like multiple columns. And if you remember, great. And some of them you won't, but now just be mindful and it'll help you track. That's awesome. Yeah, it's easy. It's amazing. And that's what that agent, when she did this, had that aha moment of like, I never really stopped to think like, these are all referrals from past clients and we're not doing enough to thank them. So just gives you a little bit of direction. So I'm glad just seeing it on an Excel spreadsheet is the easiest. Barbara's Excel spreadsheet sounds like the Cadillac version, which is awesome. I would love to see it. Okay, so we talked about like looking at our transactions and seeing which Jeremy says have as few categories as possible. That's good. That's for like tags and things like that. That's true. You can get overwhelmingly tagged, but you'll start to see kind of clusters. But you're right. You don't want to have like too many tags. So, okay, business and marketing activity review. This is similar to the transaction audit, but instead of taking inventory of our deals, we're going to take inventory of our activities, anything that we spent time, money, or effort on. And the reason that we're doing this is because we want to see if what we were doing was fruitful. This is more about your actions and less about the people or the sources. And, last year we had these kind of separated out, and really in real estate, it's so hard to separate your business and your marketing activities from each other. So we kind of combined them. And, there's a lot of overlap. Ultimately, what we ended up doing, and I had the help of our awesome marketing department with this, but we defined anything marketing is that something you would use our marketing department before. And then the rest of this stuff is obviously marketing, but it's business activities. And there's really no right or wrong, but we just want you to kind of stop and think about what are you doing and is it fruitful? So if you look on page 10 and 11 of your workbook, page 10 has all of these that you're looking at on the screen right now. It has this actual slide. And then you can kind of go through and say like, what was I doing? Was it effective or not? Right. And this is going to help you decide like, do I need to do more of this? Do I need to do less of this? And just give you some ideas, right? Of what are the things I'm spending time on? Did it make sense? And it's like, okay, well, I went to a lot of chamber networking events. Like, did I really get any business out of that? Like, maybe not. So maybe that, hour and cost every month doesn't make sense. And I should do something else with that hour every month. It just helps you assess, right? Like what did I do that made sense? And what did I do that doesn't make sense? Has anyone done this before?
Could we also add, in terms of what didn't work is not having a coach?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
yeah, getting out of coaching for the last 2 years, that didn't work.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of our business activities. We tried to put these in alphabetical order, but obviously what you call something, but I think that, I obviously am a firm believer in coaching. I have had many coaches in my life, formal and informal. And if ever I'm working on something specific, I always try to find a coach just because you need a guide and you need a sounding board and you need some accountability. So I love that one. But yeah, that's one. And when we get to start, stop, and continue, Joy, that's one that you'll probably want to add to start back up, right? Is get back into a coaching situation because you know that that works for you. So you can look at these for ideas. I'm sure this is not an all-encompassing list of things that you did do or want to try, and this will be like a good start for you. But take a little bit of time to look at your activities and think about whether they worked or not. Any questions there? Okay. All right. So then the next one is, this is my second, as a 2-trick pony, this is my second trick. It's keeping a hot and warm list, and really it's paying attention to your database, right? So anyone that comes to me and is like, oh, I'm in a slump, like I don't have any, it's like, okay, well, we got to get in touch with your people and start thinking about your people again. You know people who are moving, who know people who are moving. So how do I get in touch with them, right? And just make sure that you're keeping your database in some way. If it's a spreadsheet, if it's Outlook, if it's WeChat, if it's a different CRM, like however it is that you're doing it, you need to be spending some time, because we're agents that are performing at y'all's level are relationship-based agents, and you have to have a good database. I tell this story all the time, but I'm going to tell it again. When I had been with the company maybe three years, I went to the Texas networking event in Austin, and there was a top producer panel of building your businesses on referrals. And these were like mega producers. And they all said, all of my business comes from referrals. And once you've been in the business for a long time and you've done a good job keeping in touch with your people, your hope is that the majority of your business comes from referrals, and it just kind of feeds itself. It honestly takes probably 4 or 5 years in the business to even get started in that direction where the business starts feeding itself. So agents that have been in the business for a long time, the hope is that your previous clients just keep feeding you because you're taking care of them, and you don't have to be out there hustling to get another transaction, because the transactions are coming to you because you're taking care of your people. But each of these top producers, they ask them, how many people are in your database that you really, keep in touch with and connect with? And of these 5 mega top producers, the number ranged from 100 to 500. Nobody had more than 500 people in their database. They were like, you just can't love on that many people in an effective way. So you have to keep your database tight and know who your core contributors are, right? The ninja rule of thumb is that you make $1,000 for every household in your database every year. So that's an interesting one. But just something to keep in mind. We obviously can't talk about business planning and having successful real estate businesses without talking about our database. If you don't feel like you are doing a particularly good job keeping a database, or you feel a little bit slumped in business, I have in this book, the Ninja Hot and Warm List exercise on page 12 and 13, because this is a fantastic way to jumpstart your business. If you actually go through and do this exercise, where basically you take everyone in your database and you ask yourself 16 questions about them, and you give them kind of a move score. If you answer yes to more than 5 or 6 questions, it's like likely that these people are going to move in the future, in the near future, whether they even know it or not. And so you kind of need to get in front of them in a thoughtful way. And you don't call them and be like, I think you're going to move, but you just kind of put yourself in front of them strategically, right? And be available to help. And this works. I mean, we had an agent in our Fort Worth office who did this last year, and we did business planning on a Tuesday, and then we did the second class 2 days later, and she came back and she's like, I did this and I have a listing from it. So it definitely works when you're slumped to get business to go through and ask these questions. And so I always want it in the workbook for you guys. This is not necessarily something you need to do right now if you feel like you have a good grasp on your people, as you kind of take inventory of your business, but I wanted it in the book because it's such a good thing to do. Any questions there? No? Has anyone done this before? Actually taken the time to go through and ask these 16 questions and make a list? It's I'm telling you, it sounds painful, but it's a really powerful thing to do. And it will give you like instant ways to point your energy, right? How many of you guys, it sounds like Barbara is doing this all in her big, amazing spreadsheet, keeping kind of like a hot and warm list and moving people up when they turn into deals. Is anyone else keeping a hot and warm list? How do you guys do it? I have an agent that keeps a sticky, and she sticks it on the outside of her computer so that she's always looking at it, like her laptop, right? It's always with her and she's updating it constantly, because it's very easy. It's so crazy that we work so hard to get business, And then we'll forget about people and they'll fall off our radar, which is insane when you think about how hard we've worked to get these buyers to just kind of lose touch with them because we lost a little bit of momentum is crazy. So keeping a physical hot and warm list is necessary. I don't care if you do it on Post-its, if you do it in Excel. A lot of people that I've heard feedback from over these courses is that they tag them in WeChat, hot and warm, and then they just change the tag when they kind of transition from, warm to hot to past client. Whatever it is, like, encourage you to do it. Jeremy, do you keep a hot and warm list? I'm gonna put you on the hot seat because you're a power ninja. So I imagine that you do. I'm curious how you keep it.
I do. I keep a hot and warm list, and it was easy because I got married in October, so I have like the wedding invitation list.
Yes.
And I reach out to them, quarterly.
Where do you keep it? Do you keep it in a spreadsheet? Do you keep it on a piece of paper?
It's printed. It's a hard copy. I tried doing the spreadsheets, the WeChat. None of that worked for me. It's just easier if you have it right in
Piece of
front.
paper, looking at it. Okay, awesome. That's good. That's good. Yeah, this is an awesome time of year to be doing this because if you're doing any type of holiday card, you have a list in front of you of people that you think are important enough to get a picture of you, right? So it's a great way to it's a great time of year to do it. So thank you, Jeremy. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So the last one, once you've done your transaction audit, your business activity review, and your 2021 at a glance, and you kind of wrapped your brain around your business and hopefully had some interesting revelations, is do a start and stop and continue of what are the things that are working that you want to keep doing that are like your bread and butter. What are the things now that you were looking at it that you realize maybe weren't the most effective and you can stop spending time and money on? And then what are the things that you want to try, right? Maybe that list of business and marketing activities gives you some ideas of things that you want to start, or like Joy, you want to start, start back up with the coaching because it works for you. Whatever it is, figure out what are the things you want to do. And once you have these things filled out, your start and stop and continue, and have done these exercises, next time what we'll talk about is how do we actually make a plan to execute all of these things so that it's not like overwhelming and you don't know where to start. We're going to kind of lay it out and make it really, really easy. So if you get stuck, let me know and I can talk through any of this with you guys. So just to recap, and y'all interrupt me if you have questions or if any of this didn't make sense. I guarantee you, if you have a question, someone else is thinking the same question and isn't going to ask it, and you will help them. So if you have any questions about this as we're going through it, just speak up. The first one, 2021 at a glance, look at your numbers, and that's on page 7 of your book. The transaction audit, where you're pulling through your, pulling all of your deals out of BFSIR Connect and going through and being really, really, really specific. And like Joy said, don't just put sphere of influence, but it's like sphere of influence, tennis club, Jill Keith, right? Like be specific so that you can just really drill down in as many columns as you need, do it. That's great. And then you can be like Barbara, where you just keep building on this. So next year, if you've gone all the way back in time, you'll just have to focus on 1 year and you can keep building, and you can see if any of your past deals gave you some new deals. So that's a good one. Your business and marketing activity review, just take inventory of what you did. And I'm applauding you guys all for being here. If you stop and just spend, none of this stuff is going to take a huge amount of time. I've sat down with a handful of agents and done this with them, and it takes maybe an hour or two to do this stuff. And it's so, so helpful in terms of getting you pointed in the right direction for next year. It's like the quote, without hard work, a great strategy remains a dream. Without a great strategy, hard work becomes a nightmare. Like, you guys are so busy spinning plates, like stop for a second and get organized, and you'll be in such a better place. Embrace your database, of course. And then, the start, stop, and continue. And doing that will help us lay out your activities for 2022 in a plan, so that when the new year comes, you have to be thinking about, like, what should I be doing right now? You have a strategic plan. It's just a function of executing. So here's where we are. We defined our goals, or you're going to spend a little bit of time doing that. Like I said, if you get stuck or you need some help making them smart, fire away. I'm happy to sit down with any of you and help. I did have an agent ask, how many goals should we have? And that's really not for me to decide. Obviously, you can't have 100 goals because that's going to be really, really hard to do. The less goals you have, the more easy it will be to focus on them. But some of my goals are like, one of my goals for next year is to read 30 books. That's not a goal that is like a huge goal. That's just kind of like an ancillary in the background goal. So you need probably, 3 or 4 or 5 like big goals, things you want to accomplish. But that's just a number. You lay out what you want to do. And if you think you can get it done, you can, right? There's no right or wrong number. So we did the goals and, worked on some, staying in the right mindset with some good affirmation work. And then we did our 5 steps and exercises we can to kind of figure out where we are, so that the purpose of what we're doing today is our goals are where we want to end up. If 2022 is an adventure, our goals is where we want to end up. Assessing where we are is going to help us figure out where we are right now. And what we're going to do next time is figure out how to get from here to here and what does our plan look like. And we're going to do it in a way that's like approachable and consumable and not overwhelming, so that you can actually get it done. A lot of people, this happens to a lot of people in January, they have all these goals and they're so excited and we're all at the gym and then it goes like that. And we're not going to do that. We're going to have like a strategic plan so we can actually get everything we want to get done without being overwhelmed. And we'll talk about that next time. So does anyone have any questions? Like I said, if you guys want to do a phone call or a one-on-one to kind of help you lay this stuff out, just say the word. The next class, our last class, will be next Tuesday at the exact same time, December 7th on Zoom again. This is recorded, so you can rewatch if you have questions. Does anyone have any thoughts, questions, ideas, sarcastic remarks, feedbacks, any of the things? If you want CE credit, I have Dawn and Jean are the only people. If any of the rest of you guys that have been licensed for more than 2 years want CE credit, put your name and your license number in the chat so that I get you. And we'll go from there. Any questions?
Hey, Zareen, I have a question and a comment.
Yeah, tell me.
So my question on your business planning, are you going to go over the Sotheby's spreadsheet that it's kind of like automated, where you plug in the numbers and it just populates the amount of people you should be reaching out to and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. This business plan doesn't incorporate Sandesh's spreadsheet. So this is more of like a guide over the course of the year. His is more kind of, I think, figuring out what you need to be doing and how many people you need to be reaching out to. We do have our marketing department has, one of our steps for next time is to do a strategic marketing plan and to sit down with your agent services manager and actually come up with your budget and your plan and what you're going to do, so that every month is not a function of, oh, should I do this? It's just a function of, this is what I'm doing this month and executing it. And they have their own spreadsheet that helps you figure out some of that stuff. His seemed like a more robust version from what I saw of it, but no, like this doesn't incorporate his specific spreadsheet. Although if you want to work on that, I'm happy to sit down and do it with you. Like, no big deal. It's a good spreadsheet for sure. I wanted to make sure that this was actually consumable and doable and not overwhelming. And a lot of times spreadsheets like that can be intimidating. But if you want to sit down and do that spreadsheet together, I am more than happy to help. I think it's great.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And then
All
I wanted to add, if you guys haven't sat down and gone through your CRM, like ReChat, I finally went through it and deleted all the agents, title company, and narrowed it down to 200 people, like Ninja says. And if you're hesitant on, should I have this person there? Should I not? If you even ask that question, just take them out. Just take them out and move on, because you got to cut that list down so that you can start just reaching out to those people. And if you can get it as short as possible, still within that 200 range. That helped me tremendously once I actually sat down and I put it on forever. It takes way less time than you think it will. You
can focus and be really thoughtful on those people that are really your core people, your A+ people, as Brian Buffini would say. We dust off an old Buffini reference. Thank you, Jeremy. All right, anyone else? I got Janelle, Barbara, Clay. Good stuff. If you guys get stuck, call me. Hopefully I will see all of you next Tuesday. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you guys. Bye.